Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Royal Sussex Live. Welcome, one and all. Thank you so much for being here. And let me, okay, there we go. Then I'm going to say hello to a few people and then we'll get started. Okay, take that away, that. And then I'm going to open up another screen so I can see what you see. Oh yeah. Okay. All right, that didn't work out like I expected. Got it. All right. All right. And take that away. Okay, so I hope there's no disruptions. And I say that because there's a update for Apple, and I haven't done the update yet. So I hope things won't get kind of glitchy, but if it does, then you'll know exactly why. Okay, so I'm scrolling back. I see that there were some super chats or super stickers. Connie Bomber. I hope Connie is still here. It's kind of late. Let me see. Monroe Taylor Classic Movie Channel. Okay, very cool. Never seen that before. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. And did you guys watch Sharian? When I saw Sharian was on, I was just like, you know what? Take your time. Take your time. So I actually watched, and I was still doing some prep work myself. But yeah, Sharian is wonderful, and I love her channel. So if you guys haven't been watching Sharian Sharday, you really should, and make sure that you are subscribed and that you like her videos. And of course, you should even share those videos. Okay, so Kim Peaches says, Baron, do we have to pay for your presence tonight, darling boy? No, I'm here. I'm here. Yeah, I know. I started kind of, okay, I'm going to tell you something. Pedo said something earlier, and I did actually go back and watch Pedo from today. And she was saying how her sleep pattern was off. And same here. My sleep pattern is totally off. And I needed that extra time. I didn't realize how much extra time I needed. But I think I'm going to just call myself an artist. When you're an artist, sometimes when you get on a creative track, you lose track and you also lose a lot of sleep, or you disrupt your own sleep pattern. So that has happened to me quite some time, where I will start working on something and I don't want to stop, even though the hour is getting late. Or if I'm researching something, I don't want to stop because the hour is getting late. I just go with it. And then next thing you know, you don't go to bed until 7:30 in the morning. So that has happened to me quite a few times. And you guys have noticed over the past couple of years, when you see me posting things at odd hours and you wonder if I've been asleep yet, no, I haven't. So, but thank you so much, Kim Peaches, for the super chat. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. And Noreen Lovelock, thank you for the super sticker. And thank you for watching Royal Sussex. Oh, Noreen, it must be kind of late for you too. I see there is a pound sterling there going on. So Okay, KDV, thank you for the super sticker and thank you for watching Royal Sussex. And all right, I'm all caught up with those. Hey, Church Nelly, thumbs up, thumbs up. Very good. Thank you so much for that. Hi, Lydia. How you doing? Me too. I'm good. Thank you. Hi, Lane Parker. Thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you for watching Royal Sussex. Oh, what a sinister laugh. Okay, Lex says, Baron, you want to be careful not to change your cortisol level. It affects so many of your body functions and can be damaging over time. Don't I know it? Don't I know it? Yeah, I can't help it. It's just, and I've worked nights over the years, and working those night shifts also throws you off. So I'm all over the place these days, and I had got everything back to normal only to throw myself off again. So I sabotaged my own self. But thank you so much, Lex, for the comment, and thank you, as always, for watching Royal Sussex. Okay, so right here's yet another library, not library. People are always waiting for black folks to say library. It's library. And those are librarians, I suppose. But anyway, the library is called the JJC Library. And I think it's, oh, okay, you know what? Let me take a close look there. I see Joliet. I wonder if that's Joliet, Illinois. But anyway, Joliet Junior College. Interesting. Can you guys find out if that's in Joliet, Illinois? I mean, that's the only place I've ever associated Joliet is Joliet, Illinois. Now, notice I said associated Joliet. I didn't say I've been incarcerated in Joliet. I'm just saying there is an association with that name. Well, if you guys remember the movie The Blues Brothers, Jake and Elwood, they nicknamed Jake Joliet Jake. So, as a fan of the Blues Brothers, that is one of the places where you may have heard the name Joliet before. And I think that, of course, is a French name. As you know, the Midwestern United States, from the Canadian border all the way down to Louisiana, the Midwestern part of the United States has had a very heavy French influence. So that is why there are so many streets and towns and such name with those variations of French names. Very cool history. Okay. So yeah, anyway, there you go. Are you excited to read Prince Harry's new tell-all? Spare has arrived at the JJC Library. Place a hold at blah, 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 blah. So there you go. There's yet another place where you can find. Oh, it is. Thank you so much. It is in Joliet, Illinois. Thank you so much, Kids Indoor. Greatly appreciate that. All right, and then right here, this was really cool. His director, Scott Sherratt, worked on the self-read memoir of Bono, Jennifer Lopez, and Kim Kardashian. So right here is in the Washington Post. Now I can't remember if Washington Post is a Murdoch paper or is that the one that is owned by what's that guy's name? Bezos. I believe it's owned by Bezos. Jeff Bezos. I was about to say Scott Bezos, but that's Scott Baio. Jeff Bezos, Scott Baio. Not the same. Connie Bomber, you are still awake. Very cool. Connie, I have to tell you, my conscience is totally taxed with the idea that I am keeping you awake. I think about that every time I go, and I'm like, I don't want to mess up Connie's sleep. But anyway, Connie Bauman, thank you so much for being here. So it says in the Washington Post, to put it mildly, there's been a lot of hype about Prince Harry's memoir, Spare. Has any book had more? Question mark. This alone might dissuade you from reading the book. A possibly more palatable way to take in the prince's rants, raves, and war stories might be through his audio book, narrated, as Harry says, with obvious pride and a touch of defiance by me, the author. So, you guys, I actually did the audiobook, and and I have to tell you, the audio is fabulous because well, anyway, I'll share with you what this article says. With haters posting audio clips on social media, you might feel like you have already heard the book. The infamous frostbite on the Todger section, the surreal losing his virginity behind a pub paragraph, but what you may not pick up in these other easily mocked clips is a certain appealing humanity that underlies them. The prince showing himself, that is, to be a self-deprecating and self-aware, and reading his own book. The Duke of Sussex comes off as an ordinary guy who hasn't always been able to rise to the extraordinary demands of his life and his family. And he knows it. He's willing to discuss his most idiotic mistakes and does so with rue, self facing humor, a patent relief. And let's see, it also says here he's been wanting to speak his truth for a long time. So, if that doesn't sell you on the idea of, okay, I see that. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see there. Okay, 80s Forever said best audio ever. I thought it was wonderful. Jeff Bezos owns. Okay, very good. Thank you so much, Maureen Reed. Thank you so much for your help, you guys. Sometimes these thoughts don't come to me after I'm like well into the thing, and I should have figured that out earlier. But I really do appreciate you guys helping me out with those factoids. From earliest youth, Harry has had the cardinal rule of royalty drummed into him. The family motto, never complain, never explain. Well, he's had it with that. He now complains and explains in rich and righteous detail for 15 hours and 39 minutes. Finally, his side of the story. Of course, Harry had help from Pulitzer Prize winning journalist J.R. Moringer, that is, author of his own excellent memoir, The Tender Bar, and ghostwriter for Andre Agassi and Phil Knight. Reading the book on paper, you might notice the literary affectations and the one sentence paragraph, the super short chapters, the occasional fancy phrase or $5 word, and have your doubts about Harry's contribution. But when you hear the prince read sentences aloud, it becomes clear how well Moringer captured Harry's delivery, his cadence, his consequentially British vocabulary and phrasing, the Luros, Burrows, Blokes, and the rest of it. The way oregano, he says oregano. I think that's how he said it, which is actually takes a moment to point out in an well, aside from that, it's clear that Harry had a great time reading his memoir. He imitates his father, clipped phrasing, belts out lines from Elton John's Your Song, and takes his best shot at mimicking the Scottish brogue of his hunting mentor and American accents of his fellow soldiers. And yeah, that was really, really cool. I think Harry is probably a fantastic mimic and has done a great job with this book. I'm actually going through it the second time right now. So anyway, that article, actually, you have to have a subscription to get that. So I won't even bother posting it on the community tab. But it's a great article, and I think it does a great job making the case for the narrated version of the book. So if you haven't, make sure that you get a chance to do that. Even if you've already read it, it's a whole nother experience, I'm sure. I think you retain more if you read it yourself, but I think hearing Harry's voice and also the way that he uses his own cadence to tell the story, then you get a better vibe for the moods that he was in at certain times, or the joy or the disappointment. All of those things are put into sharp clarity by hearing him speaking himself. So that is my suggestion. Hey, Big Mama, happy Friday to you. Now, you guys, I hope um, I hope that oh gosh, what day does Special K come on? I hope I'm not disrupting Special K because I love her so much and I hate to cross over into Special K territory, but I don't think she's coming on tonight. At least I didn't see it. So, but you do well to catch her if you have the opportunity. She was so like energized last time. I can't get over it. Okay, yeah, I don't see that she's coming up. That's not to say that she's not, but I just don't see it here. So, um, but yeah, so I'm going to continue then. Let me do this okay, just to say I did. Very good. All right. All right. So with that, let me go. All right. What is going on here? Oh, there it is. Sorry about that. I can't see the actual. All right. Very good. All right. All right. So thank you very much for being here again. And Joyce Bell says the audio is very good, and Harry does a very good job. The article to me was very sarcastic. Yeah, the article was layered with sarcasm, but I think that the author was trying to appeal to people who may not actually want to bother with the spare at all because of as as well, okay, Omid Scobie said today something that some people thought was offensive to the Sussexes, but because of the fatigue. And one of the strategies of the hate campaign is to create an air of fatigue and to make people feel contempt without any good reason or explanation other than it's like the Brady Bunch. Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. Why is it always Marsha? Well, this is what they're doing to the Sussexes is that, as they will say, the Sussexes have been overexposed, but they are not overexposing themselves. That is the British tabloid media and, of course, the Australian, the American media that has hitched their wagon to all of these, stories and articles and such. The Sussexes would, just go about their business. But after 2 years of a sustained attack from the British tabloid media and the institution known as the royal family, I say stand your ground, fight your corner, and tell your story your own way so that you don't have to worry about history depicting you as an ogre or a monster when you can actually let history inform the public that it's actually the royal family that has been caught wanting in their characters or character. So yeah, but that is the whole point of it. And I think the sarcasm was to actually, how do I say this? Lower the guard of people who may have been against the idea of the spare. So I could be wrong, but I think that that's what the goal of the writer of this article had in mind. But either way, it is a good book. It stands on its own merit. And whether it's in the written form or whether it's the audio, I think the audio is the big, open secret is that the audio is fantastic. And as he said, whether you're into the Sussexes or not, it is worth grasping the articles. I mean, not the article, but the audio, and just drink it in because it's very good. It's some of the best storytelling that I've experienced in a long, long time. It's so refreshingly good that I'm telling you, it's just going to gain momentum over time. Harry's voice, Harry's personality shines through, just like on the Stephen Colbert show. The Stephen Colbert show was like the masterclass of an interview where it was disarming and informative. I'm so impressed with Stephen Colbert, more so today than I was a long time ago. Just I think it was fantastic, and he did not have to cater to the whims of someone in the other offices saying, make sure you do this, make sure you do that. He didn't have any insecurities. He didn't have to come across as a royalist or anything like that. He just did his job and he made that connection. And I don't know if they had ever met before, but you can just see that there was such a camaraderie and a bond and connection between the two of them, especially the part where they like touched hands as when Stephen Colbert was like, would you like to go with that? And Harry, having experienced so much therapy and self-reflection, knew exactly where to go. I mean, that was epic. That was absolutely epic. So I'm going to talk myself into watching it again. Thank you for the link, Church Nelly. You're on your third listen. Okay, Susie Q. And Susie Q, I had to ask the question. Did you cry? Susie Q and I have this bond where we are both quite emotional about certain things. So I have to ask the question, Susie Q, because sometimes when I'm working on something and I think it may trigger someone, I'm just like, oh boy, how is this going to land for Susie Q? I always think about that. But okay, thank you, Susie Q, for your comment. And let's move on. So, prolonged grief, a major theme of Prince Harry's memoir, a case of complicated grief. The initial shock of his mother's death never seemed to dim, and the prince writes that he spent years coming to grips with her loss. He openly admits to his struggle with mental health and using drugs to numb the pain. It wasn't until he was 20 years old and asked to review the police reports that he finally believed Diana had actually died. It sounds an awful lot. He is describing complicated grief. Christopher, is it Magoon, MD, a psychiatry, residence at the Columbia University told psychiatrist.com his advice for accepting her death fits right into that criteria. So I, having seen a case of complicated grief, I can totally recognize that that was likely the case. But, you know, all I got to say is I can see over social media and other sources how this book has had such an incredible impact on society, on the literary world, on public libraries across the United States that have actually celebrated the arrival of the book. It is something that the publishing industry desperately needed. It was desperately needed because this book is going to fuel so many more people into actually going out and purchasing a book or going to their public library. So Harry is just like, I have, okay, let me put it to you like this. Aside from J.K. Rowling's, the Oprah Book Club, this is the most I have ever seen the literary world abuzz in a long time. Now, of course, you can say, well, there's also the Obama books, and yes, they too, but this is something special, not because of the fact that this has to do with um, the Sussexes, but even whoever the book was about, this is something special, and it just feels like something really big has happened. And because of the pushback and the panic that it seems to have caused with the media, the British media, it just lets you know that somebody has struck a chord. Someone has struck a nerve. Joyce Vos. Oh, let me see here. Joyce says the article was very sarcastic. Harry has given 4 interviews promoting this book, way below the normal promotion of the book, but the UK press and some of his US press feeling this fatigue. Really? Joyce, this had nothing to do with the article, the thing about the fatigue. I'm saying, well, somewhat, but I'm saying this because it was something I wanted to talk about with Omen Scobie. And unfortunately, I did not make a slide for that, but Omen was doing an interview and he mentioned fatigue. And I'm going to tell you, I myself have mentioned fatigue. But when I mentioned that, just as Omen Scobie mentioned it, or maybe not exactly the same, but it is a strategy. It is a strategy to condemn an individual to create an air of fatigue. Because after a certain point, people lose interest. When it gets to the point where a person lets out a gasp and throw their hands up, then that means that the enemy has somehow created enough hostility or apathy that it's a problem for the person who has been written about or commented upon. And that is what Omer Scobie had pointed out. But I noticed on the Twitter that one of the people, I guess it was a squatty, took exception to that. But my whole point of mentioning fatigue is to tell you to be aware of it because the enemy wants you to become so exacerbated that you just give up. They want you to become so exhausted with a topic or a subject that they just want you to give up. And I think that that is what has happened to a lot of people in the British public that, have like given like a street interview or something like that, or have phoned into one of the radio shows, or even in the comments section of a lot of the magazine articles, online articles or newspaper articles online, is that you hear this certain level of fatigue, of exhaustion, of impatience, and of course blaming the victim. In this case, of course, the Sussexes have been victimized by the British tabloid press, and I'm always conscious of that, and I'm always nervous about that because in order to really, support the Sussexes, you have to be aware of that because it can affect the way you speak about things. Because if you get angry, if you make it personal, then you may find yourself in Facebook jail. The exhaustion works both ways because they want to demoralize us into avoiding the subject or to stop defending the Sussexes. That is their goal. So it is something to be aware of. And that is something that they are trying to use to make people not pick up this book. So if it comes across as sarcasm, I could totally understand why it appears that way. But I think that the writer of that particular article was trying to say, don't let that be an excuse to not pick up the book. But if you put enough people in the same room, not everybody is going to see everything the same way. So that is just my warning, is to make sure that you are aware when someone is trying to create an air of fatigue of any given situation or topic, because it is an effective weapon and it is a tool that the tabloids have used, especially with some of the headlines when they say certain things about the Sussexes. Are you going to this, or will you go that, or aren't you sick of this or tired of that? Or that is a ploy that they use to guide a person's thoughts, to inform a person's opinions. And unfortunately, so many people pick up on that. And then you get that case where someone says, oh, I don't like so and so. Oh, I don't know why, I just don't. That is fatigue. When a person dislikes someone and they don't know exactly why, that is fatigue. It doesn't mean that that person necessarily ever liked them in the first place, but it creates an air of hostility, and that's very dangerous. Judy Muscated, thank you so much for the super sticker, and thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Okay, moving on. Kitty James says it doesn't matter if it's prolonged grief. Is not only is Harry's experience, it also helps a lot of people who can relate to his experience to heal and move on. Very true. Very true. I tell you, this book is something special. It is something special, and it's going to help a lot of people. It is going to help a lot of people. Let me see. Bright Eyes PB&J says it's been announced Harry's book has increased printed sales almost 1.2%. Good for print books. Yes. Yes, this is like a big win. Just think how many people are going to walk into a bookstore because of the conversations around this book that otherwise would have never walked into a bookstore, or would, go into a bookstore once or twice in a given year. And because of Spare, they feel compelled. It's like, I remember when the movie, oh gosh, what was it? Bodyguard came out. The critics hated that movie. But as Valentine's Day rolled around and as people took notice of the music and such, the movie became a big fat hit in spite of the critics. And that is something that has been repeated so many times. Even the movie Moonstruck, the studio wasn't even interested in the movie. They just put it out there just to have something in the market. And that's the movie where Cher wins an Oscar. So critics, take them with a grain of salt. Omid was wrong. I heard say that's, I thought he was wrong to say so. Harry and Meghan are stupid. Their teams has promoted this book. Well, I'm going to tell you one thing that I did not like that Omid said. I don't know which interview it was. Omid said that he hopes that the Sussexes at some point don't overdo, the I guess the things that has to do with them. That they don't tell their story for too much, too long, in so many words, and I didn't like that. So, and I think Omid was wrong to say that, because I look at it like this: if the world can live through 5 or 6 years of sustained criticism and attacks against the Sussexes, then I say 2 years of the Sussexes pushing back is not nearly making a dent in the amount of hate and hostility coverage that the Sussexes have sustained. So in that one, I'm going to say he was completely wrong. And I was not comfortable hearing that. I'm just like, Omid, that one right there, I disagree. I disagree with that one. I don't care. And I'm going to tell you something. As much as I say be aware of fatigue, I don't care who is uncomfortable or feel inconvenienced. I want the Sussexes to make as much money as possible telling their story their way, because the $1 billion industry that is known as the anti Sussex campaign from the British media and even the American and Australian media, I want them to monetize their pain, their grief, and their suffering, consider it services rendered, whatever. I want them to get every possible nickel they can out of telling their story. If other people can tell their story, I don't think anybody can do it better than they can. So don't confuse one with the other. I want them to be as successful as possible, and I want them to get as much out of their storytelling as possible, up into the point they become billionaires. Then so be it. Because too much has been said and too much has been done. And I, being a Scorpio, me being a Scorpio, you know that vengeance is mine. You know, as a Scorpio, when a Scorpio has been done wrong, it's not a matter of if I'm going to get even, is when am I going to get even? So I don't believe in enough is enough. It's enough when I say it is, not when someone else says it is. And so now that they are putting the British tabloid media on the spot, now it has turned into, well, why don't they just this and what? No, tell your story. And if people are tired of listening, then they can switch to another channel. Tell your story without any hesitation. And that's exactly what Harry is doing. He is standing his ground and telling his story. So that is the one thing I'm going to have to disagree with Omen about, is the idea that they should worry about whether or not this is going to complicate their other projects. Nay, nay. This is the United States of America, and I have seen too many people in public spaces and with their own platforms, Oprah being one of them, that has told her story of poverty and, other things that happened as a child. And she has told that story again and again. And I can't remember anybody telling her, okay, well, you probably shouldn't say that anymore. And I'm just using her as an example. There are many people who have told their story, who have written their books, who even Prince Charles, now King Charles, wrote a book. And if King Charles' book was as successful as Spare, he wouldn't stop talking about it. So, yeah, tell your story. Keep it going. Keep it going. It'll never be enough for me. So yeah, I don't fear that. I don't fear that they have gone too far or said too much. I really, really don't. I know how. And see, it's just like with the Earth shot. This is going to be the Super Bowl of. They never said what Super Bowl it was supposed to be of, but this is going to be the Super Bowl. That just goes to show the limited understanding of the U.S. and how the people in the United States think. We're not a monolith, of course, but there is room for just about everything you could think of in this country. And the idea that that ridiculous Earth flop was a Super Bowl like event, I, how self aggrandizing. That's all I can say. Let's see here. Is it Nissegate says the book speaks to people on many levels. That's why it's striking a chord. There's loss, grief in our lives, and for the prince to be dealing with all of that and be able to go to war is fantastic. Thank you so much for your comment. I agree with you. Let me see. Mary H says, "So true, Baron. It's different. This book and the docuseries, everything the Sussexes do have a unique feeling about it. Different. All I can say. Yeah, it is. The docuseries is like a whole nother level of of documentary making, and this book, and all I could at this point is for me is the book, not this book. The book is so universal in its message. I love the fact that it has rattled the media's cage so much that feathers are sticking in between the bars. Those fools write about Harry and Meghan fatigue, but in the same breath, ask where Meghan is when she's not heard from in a month. Exactly. And Madam Curiosity, we as squatties are used to the Sussexes being away from the camera. And the tabloid media was depending on their silence to go after them. And see, it's very difficult to disprove a negative. And that's why it's so easy to throw stones at people and not really ever face consequences, is because when you have to disprove a negative, as they say, if you're explaining, you're losing. If you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. So trying to deflect and explain every criticism, it only makes you look more guilty. But if you're silent and deliberate about the way that you tell your side of the story, it has so much more power and impact. And that is what the Sussexes have done. They have been very disciplined about their response to the media. And in so many ways, they have allowed them to bury themselves. They have dug a hole and they have buried themselves, and they have been caught out, and people have noticed. First the docuseries, and now with the Spare, and we still don't know when Meghan's book is going to come out. And hearing Meghan narrate her book, I mean, just think about this: two powerful voices. Harry's best weapon is his own voice. And I mean, literally speaking in his own voice. Do you think that it's going to be any less impactful when Meghan tells her truth? We've already got a sample of it from the Archetype. Archetype was so powerful, it pushed Joe Rogan off of his throne of 3 years. And she didn't really talk that much about personal stuff, just the occasional comment here and there. But when she lays out her story, Meghan, or should I say Rachel Meghan Markle, or Princess Henry of Wales, Princess Meghan, when she, the wordsmith, the calligrapher, tells her story, I think that again, the literary world is going to be in a tailspin. It is going to literally combust with excitement. So we still have that to look forward to. And when it happens, if you think they were nervous about Harry's book, wait until the institution find out that that Meghan's book is coming. Yeah, if you think they were nervous about Harry's book, wait until Meghan's book come out. Wait until someone who is not confined by a lifelong sense of duty to a grandmother who is the head of the church and Commonwealth and armed forces, someone who, more or less looked at most people of that family as equals, showing a bit more respect to the queen because, after all, it was the queen. But as for the rest of the family, I think it just bothered them that Meghan, being the smartest one in the room and unthreatened and unbothered and unmoved by their titles and their privilege, that just bothered them. They could probably just feel her lack of concern for who they were and where they came from. And I'm sure that just bugged them. that she wasn't nervous and fidgety and shaken and stumbling over her words in their presence, especially William. You know, that must have really rubbed him the wrong way. Let's see. Carol Lund, thank you so much for the super chat. And I'm super sticker, and thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. And Joan Lawman, thank you for the super sticker, and thank you for being a member as well as watching Royal Sussex. Thank you very much. Glad you're here. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah. Hello. Thank you so much, V. Thomas. And we have a super chat from Ali Get Real. Another aspect of Harry's book, encouraging readers, reading that is, people will seek out other books written from the Brit perspective about the war, and they'll pay attention to it. Another way of reducing what is that? Is that crap rate of the what is S rate uh, of vets, reducing the that okay, that rate where they're not here anymore, where they feel like it's not worth being here. I get you. I had to think about that for a second. And Allie, thank you for reminding us about that. They I don't know if you guys know this, but in certain places, the Stephen Colbert clip came with a warning because we talked about S and the S rate, or that's what was mentioned in the Stephen Colbert interview. So, Ali Get Real, thank you so much for reminding us about that. I totally wasn't thinking about that today, but it is very important. And that is one of the more powerful things that is going to happen with this book. When Harry spoke about returning to civilian life and not remembering how loud people were and how he felt so out of place away from Afghanistan. Now, that was powerful. That was absolutely powerful. And this is, again, someone who supposedly comes from a life of privilege and see, was supposedly would have everything, every best of every situation you could think of, did not even receive counseling after his mother died. 2 weeks later, he's back at a boarding school where people were told, don't discuss it, don't mention it. What could be more painful and isolating to a child than to have their world turned upside down? And then, of course, the only logical place for someone to go who was in a situation like that is to become a soldier, something that they were interested in for a long time. And there he found a certain sense of community and camaraderie. And then, of course, the evil, hateful, cruel British tabloid media tried to take that away from him. It was bad enough, all of the hijinks with the uniform, will he or won't he? But then the public attacks, the very public attacks from the tabloid media, and most likely from the institution as well, where they tried as much as they could to damage his record as a veteran of war. That they tried to malign him for writing things in a book that many other people have written about in even more graphic terms. They tried to take that away from him, leaking the Spanish version of the book, playing with the interpretation of it, and then using that as a way to coerce people into attacking him, unwillingly attacking him or criticizing him. I mean, it has been, and this is what, and thank you, Ali, again, because this is so important. That is something that should never be downplayed. You should never discourage people from seeking help or speaking openly about what you've mentioned in your comment. And by them attacking Harry and attacking this book in the way that they have, that seems to be exactly the outcome, is that it could actually do more harm than good. This is why Piers Morgan had to be removed from the television, because when he said that he did not believe, that he didn't believe Meghan when she spoke about that very same thing, that was the one thing that was a step too far. Now, whether the powers that be uh, also struggled in their personal lives, or if they were just actually reacting to the possible damage that it could have done to the greater public, but that was a step too far. And so, again, with this book, there's a lot of help that can, be made available to people because of the conversations that we're having, that other people are having, and of course, again, the psychiatric community and such is going to help a lot of people. I have seen this book posted by some very, shall we say, unlikely people on social media saying, this has changed my thoughts, or this has changed the way I feel, not about the Sussexes, but about just life in general, and about that subject, about being a veteran. So there's so much to be gained. And if it wasn't for this very petty, cruel hate campaign from the British tabloid media, just think how much more good it can be done, not only by the Sussexes, by anybody that would not have to feel afraid that the media is going to come after me. That is so dangerous. Thank you again, Ali, and thank you for watching Royal Sussex. And also, thank you for the super chat. Okay. Hey, Misty Blue, thank you so much for being here. Joyce says, as long as the UK press has been going after these two for 4.5 years, and now people are fatigued with them and telling their story, they need to make all the money they can and go for it. Sussexes. Amen. I could not agree more. Eleanor Peterson says, Patterson. Sorry about that. I'm with you, Adrian Burrow. I hope Meghan doesn't show up until her next engagement, charity event, whatever. And when she does, she makes a big announcement, i.e., her memoir. Yes, 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 absolutely. What an adorable profile picture you have. Thank you for using that one. Hey, Black Queen. Black Queen says, thank you guys. It's been 12 years and it's still fresh as the first day. Yes, Black Queen, you're a veteran, right? Yeah. And and I can only imagine what an impact the book must have been for you. Wow. But anyway, thank you for being here, and thank you for being a fantastic moderator. Uh, Donna Black says Prince Harry's book is mainly making the media tabloids look bad. He's not really criticizing the monarchy, and the tabloids are mad. Yeah, I mean, he's not really challenging the idea of monarchy, but he has called out behavior of William and his stepmother in particular. Those have been two people that have caused him a lot of grief and pain, and he's spoken openly about it. And again, that is just the first book. Now he admits that there was about 400 pages that didn't make the final cut. So those 400 pages may very well end up in the next book or not at all. But I think a lot of it is going to have to do with the reaction from this book and also how he's treated by his family. But I don't suspect that he is going to hold back the truth, and withhold information just for their sake. But how he tells his story and how they are portrayed is, an editorial decision that needs to be made when the time comes. Thank you so much for your comment, Donna Black. All right. What a spirited conversation today. 1966. I like Omid. Of course, he is not perfect. None of us are, but Omid may have an inside look into how dirty and despicable the royal family actually is. what is that? What royal? What is that? RD is desperate and will do anything to keep things the same. Um, I don't know what RD is, and I know I should know, but I'm so sorry I don't. But yeah, I tell you guys, you know, I am a huge fan of Omen Scobie, but this idea that they should worry about their other projects and how they're going to be affected, or that he's worried that it may be, whatever the case is, I don't care. I'm just doing the math. I'm doing the math. What, 5 or 6 years of a sustained attack besmirching the character of Meghan, and of course they have continued a lifelong attack against Harry. I mean, Harry's speaking about the way that the tabloids used him, the way his father and his stepmother used him. And we all know about Kensington Palace, in other words, his brother. And so, if the world could sit by and passively allow that to happen for, you know, 4, 5, 6 years, then I say we got just as much room for the rebuttal. We have just as much room for the rebuttal. I have an appetite for the rebuttal. And people are actually, and I'm going to tell you something, even though some people may be so called exhausted of the subject, the juicy bits, the inner workings, the details about the royal family and the way they spend the taxpayer money. I don't care how a person feels or what side of the fence they're on, where they when it comes to Harry's right to tell his truth. Everybody is curious about what's going on within that household, whether passively or otherwise. People want to know. And even Harry mentioning spending time with his lifeless grandmother on the day she, made her transition, there is an appetite for that. I was very curious about, what happened at Balmoral, and Harry filled in the blanks. So it's not necessarily just about his treatment by the family, but those little small details like the Queen wearing earplugs, or the Queen, or living a life and never hugged my grandmother. Bizarre, interesting, bizarre. And the story is finally out there. So there's an appetite for it. I have no doubt about that. Thank you so much for your comment. Let me see here. Let me see. Oh, Joyce says, I'm sorry if I sounded so passionate about this tonight, but those two people have put up with a lot since their marriage, and even before their marriage, it is their time to tell their story. Joyce, you feel the way you feel. That's all I can say is you feel the way you feel. And I'm a very placid person most days, and I don't get so excited about things. But I tell you, I feel no less, emotional about it. I just, as the content creator, I have a certain thing that I need to do, and if I, you know, come across a certain way, then a message could be lost or something like that. So I have to do things the way I do it, and you have to have an ear for certain things, and so that's why I do things the way that I do. But I tell you, some 800 and God knows how many videos. My support for the Sussexes is unwavering, and never should that ever be taken into question by anyone. Not to say that that you have, but I'm just saying that my support has been unwavering, and the whole point of the channel was to be able to do something about something that made me feel very helpless. And your way of approaching these things, there's room enough for everybody's, whether it's more emotion, less emotion. There's room for everyone at this table, so long as at the core of it we are supporting the Duke and Duchess of Sussex and the rest of the family. And, I there have been some people in the comments section that have been, blocked forever, that question about, oh, you don't allow any debate. You don't. No, I don't. No, we don't. I don't. The moderators don't. And the reason why we don't is, again, there has been a sustained attack against them for years. And the idea of having an opposite opinion, there is, like, what is it, a 10-to-1 uh, amount of other side of the story. But for what we can control here, yeah, we don't have room for a debate. And I don't care that there's not room for a debate. We are all Sussex all the time. So where that's concerned, I like to think that we are all um, in agreement with that. And as for the rest of it, I'm telling you, feel what you need to feel. More room out than in. So we all express ourselves differently. And that's a healthy thing, because being able to talk about this stuff, being able to have a community where we don't have to feel afraid to speak about these things, because let's face it, in our personal lives, our friends and family and otherwise, they're not always ready to talk about this, but at least we know that in this situation and on the other channels and the other places on social media, that we have each other, and that's important. So I would never want anybody to feel like, oh, I hope I haven't. No, you haven't. Long as you're on the right side of history, I really don't care. So anyway, thank you so much for being here. Let's see. Donna Black says Meghan is keeping a dignified silence. Just the mafia code and abusers always want the victims to shut up. Well, Prince Harry is not going to shut up until he's ready. Part of his security and the security of his family is tied into his ability to tell this story. Because if he was to be silent, or if he were to be silent or silenced, if that were to happen, then they would have absolutely no safety at all. That would mean if nobody listened to the Sussexes, then that would give a tacit approval to enemies to come after them. But as long as there are people like us speaking up and speaking out, then that provides them with a certain level of safety, more so than you could have with Pinkerton guards standing next to you. So, yeah, I say keep speaking out. Light Side of the Moon says Royal Family, Rhoda, tabloid rats, minions are lucky because Harry held back. I believe he could have spilled so much more than what we read. Yeah, by using terms like the fly, the bee, and the wasp, he created a certain amount of cover for them. And whether or not that was a legal decision or not, it is still him telling his truth. And even with them, he could have said so much more, and he didn't. So again, they are lucky. Thank you so much for your comment. Let me see here. Rosalind Gaywood says, Baron, remember Harry received no grief counseling right after his mom's death, nor did they have a private visitation with her body before they buried her. Yeah, so he didn't have I don't think he had the closure of actually looking at her face. He said in the book that I'm told my mother's hands were clasped together, holding a photo or folded together, holding a photo of William and I, which means that he didn't actually see her face. He didn't get a chance to look at her. He didn't have that closure of seeing her face for the last time. What he was presented was a flag draped coffin in her apartment at Kensington Palace. And while she was in her flag draped coffin, one of the people on staff was raiding the place and took over 300 items out of said apartment while he was supposed to be holding a vigil to be with her so she wouldn't be alone. And, so Harry did not have that closure. And that makes a heck of a difference. He didn't have a chance to actually gaze at her face. If you guys don't know this, I'll tell you, you probably have heard it, maybe not. But usually, when they bury the royals, they are put into a lead lined coffin. It is a wooden coffin inside of a lead box, which is, hermetically sealed or welded shut, and then it goes into another coffin. It weighs a lot, but that is how the queen was buried, and that is how most of the royals are buried. So they are, they may as well be in a Tupperware bowl, and that is how they are sealed up. And so once that happens, like once the queen went into that box, I don't think they opened it again. They solder it shut, and then that's the end of it. So he probably never had a chance to look at his mother's face. Mystic Toxin, Meghan needs a voice. What is that? ASMR meditation series. Changed my mind. Really? Okay. Thank you so much, Mystic Toxin. I'm going to have to look into that. An ASMR meditation series. I am going to have to look into that. Thank you so much for your comment. Shay says, I think Omet didn't mean to say anything like that. I think he's just concerned about overexposing some details against the monarchy and tabloids, but the tabloids won't stop, so Harry will continue. So, Shay, it's different ways to interpret what Omet said, but on the surface, I'm just going to say whatever he did or did not mean to say. The idea of worrying about them overdoing it, one of the biggest things, like maybe Omen knows, maybe he doesn't know, but if I see a channel, whether it's a hate channel or not, but if I see a channel with a video of the Sussexes, the first thing I do is I go to popular. I go to their menu and go to videos and then go to popular. And when you click on popular and you see that, okay, they got 1,500 views for this video, 200 views for that video, 5,000, 6,000, 25,000 views for Harry and Meghan. Obviously, there is an audience there. Okay. So who does or does not have the ability to say when enough is enough? I'm going to leave that responsibility to the Sussexes. I'm going to leave that responsibility to their team. That's when it's enough, not when I say or anybody else say. When they say it's enough, then it's enough. I'm going to have to trust the Sussexes on this one. That's when it's enough. And so Omid probably meant well. That's fine. And yes, there is good reason to worry about these things. But, Omid is a reporter. At the end of the day, he's a reporter. He voiced his opinion about something, and I won't invalidate his opinion simply because he's a reporter. I'm just going to say I don't agree with him. And, I like Omid a lot. I think he has been a very powerful, I won't say ally to the Sussexes, but he's done more good than he has harm. And this is, his voice, someone who himself, by his own admission, has been vetted and investigated by elements of the tabloid media. And that couldn't have been easy. So I'd have to wonder, where is this voice coming from? Is this someone who's afraid? Or is this someone who is really genuinely concerned, or concerned and afraid? I don't know. But yeah, I have to say, okay, there is something to be said about their future projects and whether this will affect their projects. But the people who need to be concerned about that is Harry and Meghan, not, us or anybody else. Should we have the ability to speak about it? Sure. But Omid has to know that his words carry a lot of authority because he has been branded, fairly or unfairly branded, a mouthpiece for Harry and Meghan. And so they can easily use that as a talking point against the Sussexes. Oh, the Harry and Meghan friend, Harry and Meghan ally feels XYZ. That's why I am a little concerned about him having said that. But again, I like Omid Scobie. I think he does an amazing job. I think he has been very fair. And I'm not going to say that it was wrong for him to say that. I'm just very concerned that him saying that could be, detrimental. And I'm going to say that I think, well, not I think, but I feel that what he said was wrong. Not wrong for him to say it, but I just think he was wrong in saying that, but he has a right to speak his opinion. But I just think what he said is wrong. But anyway, thank you so much, Shay. And you know, uh, I can't say that Omid. I won't even assume that Omid meant to do any harm, but I'm just saying the possibility is there. Thank you so much for your comment. Let me see. Phyllis Brooks says, I have been looking at articles written about Harry and Meghan daily for the past 6 years. The British trash, not tabloid, the British trash press, nor many British subjects ever stated that we're tired of reading that trash news. Well, Phyllis Brooks, I'm going to tell you one person that I know caved in to this type of and okay, I won't say that they caved. I'm going to say that maybe they were exposed. Do you guys remember a certain channel where we were greeted with "Hello, hello"? You guys know who I'm talking about, right? Hello. Well, that particular channel, at first they tried to play neutral and they tried to just get on with their reporting. But then after a while, they began to collapse under the pressure of feeling a certain way and not actually voicing the way they felt. And then eventually, they thought they were in a private space amongst friends, and they began to blurt out their deep feelings, deeply hidden feelings about Harry and Meghan. And suddenly they found themselves, shall we say, um, losing subscribers. Now, that was my second time unsubscribing. The first time was when they got overly animated and excited about Donald Trump showing up. And I'm just like, I started following Harry and Meghan because it was an escape from that. I started following Harry and Meghan because I just happened to be in London when they had the wedding. So as I learned more about Meghan, as I've always loved Harry, it was an easy fit. But he, uh, he let his slip show, and it was it was enough that a lot of squatties just walked away from him, and with good reason. So what pains me about that is that the untold amount of subscribers that hello, the many subscribers that he had only happened because of Rachel Meghan Markle marrying into that family. Before that, he had this little obscure channel that a handful of people watched, but he made a lot of money because of Princess Meghan. And I don't care whether you like her or not, you better show some respect and you better show gratitude for the amount of wealth that has been brought into your coffers because of Meghan Markle. I mean, this man didn't went and bought a house. And from what I can heard, I thought he was what, a school teacher or something. he quit his day job because he had, you know, the wedding and Meghan. And for a lot of people, there weren't any channels out there. There weren't, you know, many channels that had daily conversations, and he cashed in on that. And I mean to tell you, it was a rather mediocre affair, that channel. It wasn't much to it. And I'm going to tell you, there was a few things that said, well, why don't you just make your own channel? And when it came to him, a little voice in my head said, well, you sure as heck can't do any worse. I can hello with the best of them. So I said, well, let me give this a try. And then for about a year, I didn't even come back to the channel. But April the 15th, 2021, I was all in and have not missed a day since. So, in a way, that very repugnant individual was quite helpful, because I figured if anybody can sit up there and go, hello, I could do it too. So with that, I have to say to you guys, hello. I even got a fan. I should start using my fan. Hello. Anyway, thank you so much, Phyllis Brooks. I'm not even sure how that started, but hello. Crazy Trekker says, what I find hypocritical is how the UK accused Harry and Meghan for being too exposed, yet they are the same, putting them on the front of their papers, claiming to know them, and the same public lumps it all up then within. Okay, Crazy Trekker, that is the real odd thing about it, or should I say the real hypocrisy, as you say, hypocritical, is that the same people that say it's too much, or we're concerned that they're overexposed. And how about this one, Crazy Trekker? I'm just concerned that after they run out of things to say about the royal family, then what are they going to do? They got reportedly, they may have $150 million. Who gives a rat behind? They okay. If they never said a word again, they'll be okay. Now, security is expensive. Life is expensive. California is expensive. But again, I'm going to say this one more time. I don't care who's tired of it, or who thinks it's too much, or I don't care. If we could go through years of hate and negativity, then I got even more time for positive Sussex conversations, for positive Sussex news stories. I got time for it. I ain't got nothing but time. If we can go through all that nonsense, as painful as it was, then we got time to hear good things. We have times to hear them do a weather report, or to read a kid's book, whatever they want to do, we got time for it. If we had time for your nonsense, we got time for them to live their best life and to tell their truth. They have more than paid the price for it. So I don't care who's tired. I really, really don't care. Um, I understand the ploy. I understand the tactic. And that's the point I want to make. I understand it. One of the things that I try to do on Royal Sussex time and time again is I try to tell you how I feel, or explain what I've noticed from media coverage, from the way people gaslight and the way propaganda works. I've seen it. And that's why I'm always comparing Meghan's, attacks on Meghan to the attacks on the Obamas and the Clintons and even the Bidens, because this level of scrutiny, this level of vetting and investigating and probing, nothing like this has ever existed for a civilian of any kind in this country. Never. There's never been a I get it if it's the first family. I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. But for Meghan, a private citizen who, just so happens to be married to a prince, to have been vetted like this all these years, it has far exceeded a Britney Spears. I want to say it's probably exceeded even Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey has had a mega dose of vetting by the media. So if you want to compare it to other people who have been investigated and scrutinized in the United States, I think this, for someone in her position, this is a first. This is really a first. But I can compare it to a lot of other people, like an Oprah Winfrey. Oprah Winfrey was so huge. And yes, people counted her money too. There was rarely a story where they didn't tell you that Oprah had $2.3 billion, $2.5 billion, $2.7 billion. There has rarely been a story where they didn't tell you that. And so I have to compare it to an Oprah Winfrey. But I think it's been far more aggressive and much worse because Oprah's family was targeted in the early days. And then at some point, the targeting of her family stopped. But with Meghan, her father's side of the family were willing participants, and they have made a lot of money for themselves and for other people. And I think they have sold themselves short because honestly, for the amount of revenue that they have given these tabloids, I don't think they, got as much out of it as they should have. If you're really going to go through all the trouble of trying to destroy somebody's life, at least make it worth your while. But at the end of the day, when all of this has passed, trust me, they won't have a nickel to show for it. It never should have happened in the first place. But it just goes to show how cheap their opinions are, how cheap their stories are, and how cheap their lives are. Thank you so much, Crazy Trekker. Cheap. Cheap! And I'm sick of it. Do you hear me? Sick! Megan's perception will be more in depth of what the royal family really look like. An educated Black woman is a threat. Kim Peaches, you better say that again. You better say that again. An educated Black woman is a threat. Nobody seems to cause as much a stir as an educated Black woman. That just seems to beguile them. They are so, yeah, that and especially in corporate America, that there's a trade-off. You hire a Black woman and you have a formidable employee. But also, if you hire a Black woman, you have a formidable employee. You know what I'm saying? Because the BS meter of a Black woman working in your corporation, it is always having someone to give you that look, if you know what I mean. So that is a mixed blessing. It truly is. I've seen it too many times. If you need to run a business effectively, that's who you want on your side. But don't rub them the wrong way, for sure. Okay. Let's move on, you guys, because I got so much to go over here. They did that to discredit us. Harry and Meghan director Liz Garbus dismissed Buckingham Palace claims that the Netflix production didn't reach out for a comment on the docuseries. Well, we all know that is not true. Well, we know that is not true. They... Oh, man. An institution like the royal family to play dumb like this, and I'm just going to use the word dumb, to try to play dumb like this, to try to pretend like they have been they one of the most powerful propaganda machines in the world has been the victim of Harry and Meghan's documentary, that they were not queried in any type of way, is hogwash. I just don't believe it. Now, did they ask to see everything before it actually aired? I'm not even sure that happened, because that was the only way that they can have plausible deniability. So, yeah, it was just a way to try to discredit them. Everything is about discrediting the Sussexes. So far, they have not been very effective with that. So far, the Harry has outmaneuvered that machine in so many ways, and I think it's about time for them to raise the white flag over Buckingham Palace, but they're not likely to do that because they are so entrenched in tradition and so entrenched in using their power and influence. And that goes right down to the person emptying the trash cans, that I suspect they'll never change. But modernity, that type of change is going to happen whether they like it or not. Let's see. Delta. What is that? Deltap Sippy one. Thank you so much for the super sticker. And thank you so much for watching Royal Sussex. Happy Friday to you. Let me see. Shay says, I think Camilla was informed to lie low after her doings was exposed from the spare book, which proves when she launched with lunch, that is, with those vile friends of oh, you know what? I got wait, do I have something about that for later? I'm not sure. But yeah, she was probably told to lay low, and that's a good idea. That is a good idea. Sometimes it's just like in real life. Sometimes you have to send an old horse out to pasture. So maybe they had to send her out to graze for a bit, and maybe that's a good thing, because it probably takes a lot of energy for someone to have committed the amount of dirt that she has been accused of. Thank you so much for your comment. Let me see here. Trying to make sure that I didn't miss any super chats. Let me see. What was the last super chat? Oh my goodness, so many comments. Okay, super sticker. Okay, it was a super sticker. And woo, boy, it's a lot of comments. Sorry, you guys. I think I just skipped through maybe 200 or 300 comments, but let's go to the last. Adrian Burrow says, an entity such as the monarchy doesn't become a victim. They just regroup for another attack. Ooh, Adrian. That is powerful. Yes. I mean, that really paints a picture, but you are absolutely right. That is quite something to consider. But yeah, you're right. It's been shocking to discover how unprofessional the British royal family is. No serious organization would depend on a tabloid. Is small-minded and outdated. Oh, me on stuff 99. Yes, yes, that is. It is very small-minded and incredibly outdated. Speaking of outdated, speaking of outdated, y'all know who Auntie this is, don't you? Speaking of outdated. Speaking of outdated, I thought we had seen and heard the last of Auntie, but nay, lad, as Harry says in the book, nay, lad, we have not heard the last of her. She didn't come back again. This is Nelson Mandela's first of the first of the first, the firstborn granddaughter of the first daughter, who also has a book, was approached by an Australian news organization, and somehow the longest face that you've ever seen on a human torso, Camilla Tominey, got a hold of the story. And because she has a stretched out cranial mass, she managed to stretch that story into something that it wasn't, I guess. But this very obsessed individual, Camilla Tominey, has possibly helped the first of the first of the first sell a lot of books. I'm not saying that that was any way the reason behind her sudden notoriety, but I'm just saying it is a byproduct of having said too much to the wrong people. Um, it's my time to tell the truth about Harry, Meghan, and my grandfather, Nelson Mandela. You can't hardly ever say hi to her without her telling you that Nelson Mandela is her grandfather. There is no situation where she doesn't remind people that Nelson Mandela is her grandfather. As a matter of fact, I think she even changed her surname to make sure that you know that I know that she knows that you know that she knows that I know that you know that she knows that we all know that she knows that you know that I know that she's Nelson Mandela's granddaughter. As a matter of fact, her epitaph will say, I'm the first of the first of the first, and I also happen to be Nelson Mandela's granddaughter. There will never be a day where she's not going to let you know that. And so, even though she didn't already, gave the people what they wanted, now she's going to come back for more. When people accused me recently of criticizing Prince Harry and Meghan Markle for profiteering from my grandfather's name, I was shocked because it was false. I had never accused Harry and Meghan of doing this. Or you could have just not said anything. You, the first of the first of the first, were plucked from obscurity by an Australian news group to give your opinion about a docuseries on Netflix that just so happens to have been produced by the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, that just so happens to have been produced with, the agreement. They were actually sought out by the Nelson Mandela Foundation, which she is not a member of, by the way, but she does have a book. If I didn't tell y'all that, she does have a book. Wait till you see the name of the book. But it just so happens that this person who says, it's true, I feel terribly disappointed whenever the Mandela name or face is used for commercial purposes without any benefit to the vision he stood for. Really? Is that the only benefit you're thinking about? Well, the first of the first of the first just so happened to have been plucked from obscurity by an Australian news group so that she can tell the world how upset she is that people are profiteering from her grandfather's name. But in this instance, it was the Nelson Mandela Foundation that approached the Sussexes. Now, if she was inside the foundation, she would know this. But perhaps even outside of the foundation, she knows this, but still managed to insert herself slap dab in the middle of the story. By the way, did I tell you guys she has a book? Oh, you know what? Why am I wasting my time? Let me do this. Well, we got another one. There she is right there. And there's, the other Mandela grandchild that seems to be pretty outspoken, especially where the Sussexes are concerned. Um, I say, well, we got another one because yet again, another person of African descent has been quite useful in besmirching the character, or an attempt to do so, of the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. Uncle Scar, as I have nicknamed him, his grandson, he managed to do this about the whole thing to do with the celebration for the Sussex's marriage being compared to the day that Nelson Mandela was released from prison. Now, that was someone's opinion. They spoke of that with the Duchess of Sussex, whispered it in her ear or whatever at a red carpet reception, and of course, it was amplified and overblown by the British tabloid press, which is why somebody else should have known better than to talk to the Western media about anything that has to do with Harry and Meghan, unless you want to put yourself in the middle of something that has not a lot to do with you. You're not on the foundation. You weren't invited to work on the docu series. You don't matter. You should be out there promoting your book in other ways than by invoking the name of Harry and Meghan. Now, the name of the book is, are you ready for it? I am Nendalika more than my surname. Are you really? Are you really more than your surname? Because so far, I don't know a conversation that's ever been had where you haven't invoked the fact that you're Nelson Mandela's granddaughter, also known as the first of the first of the first. And I know that you know that I know that you know, and everybody else knows that you know that I know that you are Nelson Mandela's granddaughter. You won't let us forget it. It's like telling the time of day. What time do you have? Well, I am Nelson Mandela's granddaughter, and I say it is 6:08 p.m. or 8:06 a.m. That is what we get. So if it's not really important, if you are more than your surname, prove it. As a matter of fact, stop using the Sussex's name. Stop using your Nelson Mandela's name. There's got to be something else that's going on besides I'm not my surname. Oh God. This is exhausting. I thought we had heard the last of it, but the problem is, and Petal said this, not today. She said this when she first wrote an article or mentioned that they took her words out of context. I'm not sure they did. I believe that she gave them exactly what they wanted, and that's why the first of the first of the first was plucked from obscurity and put on center stage in a um, situation that should not even involve her. If you're not on the foundation, you don't matter. Go push your book. I'm not as forgiving, and I'm not going to look past that. I think it was all quite deliberate, and I think it was all unnecessary. Black Queen says that's why I never want to win an exorbitant lottery amount. Couldn't deal with bitter family members and so-called acquaintances popping out of the woodwork for their 5 minutes of infamy. Shh. Exactly. Exactly. Between her and Uncle Scar, I don't know who's the worst. So far, Uncle Scar, I'm going to say he's probably, I'm going to tell you, he has more traction than most because he has been all over the continent of Africa, um, doing nothing more than being Nelson Mandela's grandson. That is what he does for a living. He's Nelson Mandela's grandson. And that it's not the first time. I mean, just look at the Markle family. Look at the Markle family. Hot Wheels was just on um, Tucker Carlson's show. Hot Wheels was on Tucker Carlson's show, flim flamming, obfuscating, dodging. Actually, I don't even say she was dodging because it was a softball interview, but the only point for her to be there was that she has some genetic relations to Meghan. Other than that, she's not important. She's a non entity. But the only thing that makes her famous is a person that she hasn't spoken to since, I believe it was 2008. 2008. They have not spoken to one another. And she's very evasive about the last time they ever spoke, but she presented a photographic evidence of the fact that they were actually in the same space at the same time. And that's it. And from that, she probably has put in a new jacuzzi, a new kitchen. She may have moved out of her trailer. I don't know. But from that, she has gone pretty far. Okay, so that is what I have to say about I am more than my surname. Now, this little soundbite that I'm going to play for you, this happened on the Jeremy Vine show. Jasmine is someone that you may have seen me reference before, but apparently the person in red is the one who starts the conversation. And then you're going to hear the very draining voice of Jeremy Vine chime in occasionally, but mostly it's the woman trying to look slim and black and Jasmine that are having the conversation. So the one who's wearing a very slimming outfit on the far right side, uh, ineffectively, I might add, but the one who's wearing that very slimming outfit, um, with the wet hair look, she is the one who decided that she would carry the water for the institution today. So let me get that for you. I hope I told you my computer is a bit glitchy, so I'm hoping it doesn't, do a number. But if it does, then I'll try to find another way to present it to you. But in the meantime, I think I'm going to go find something black to wear because I need to, look smaller on camera. Because, the camera adds several pounds to most people. And it makes you wonder how many cameras they got on her. Look like they got about 20 cameras on her. So she was right to wear something very slimming. So anyway, because I need to lose a few pounds, I'm going to play this for you. And when I come back, I'm going to be about 20 pounds lighter. I'm going to be about 20 pounds lighter, okay? Promise. Wait a minute. There's no sound? Are you guys saying that there's no sound? How is that possible? I mean, I hear it clearly. Can't hear audio. Wait, I mean, okay, let me try it again because I could hear it clearly. Let me try again. No sound? Wow. Huh. So nobody got any sound. No, you know what, guys? I heard it playing clearly, but let me try it again. Let me try it again. Um, Give me a second. That is so weird. I mean, I know clearly that this thing is working, but let me try it again. Uh, okay. Uh, I hear now. Okay, that is weird. I mean, I know the sound is working, but I'm going to try it again. Let me see. I can hear Baron's voice, but not audio. He's trying. Yeah, you know what? I'm trying to share it, and it's not frozen. I mean, I was literally listening to it. I don't know why it wasn't working, but that is curious. Let me try something else. Let me try something else, and if that doesn't work, then I suppose maybe I'm not allowed to play it. I don't know, but it's worked out every other time. Big machine that operating in palace, maintaining the image of the royal family, their neutrality, having to see off threats. Because at the end of the day, this is a 1,000-year-old institution that replaces us having to have a presidential system. It's our unwritten constitution. So they're not just a family like the Kardashians, are they? They actually have a political function. But, you know, you do have this sense that he's asking to have privacy and a normal life, and all these things have been so injurious to him, or saying to Netflix, bring your cameras in, give us $150 million. You know, it just seems rather hypocritical.
Let's talk to a friend of the show, Jasmine Dotiwala. Jasmine, you can see why he's done this.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I think it's wild because we as the British public think that we own Harry the way that we speak, and we really don't. Harry and Meghan have had their story told by royal reporters and media for so many years. This is a young man who's setting straight 38 years worth of lies and briefings about him. And the worst thing for abusers is when abused people find their voices. And if you think that one Oprah Winfrey interview and a couple of podcasts and a book even come close to making that up, you're wrong. If Harry took another 5 years worth of doing interviews and press media, it wouldn't be enough to put a lifetime's narrative straight.
Is that right, Claire?
Well, I wonder why then, if it's not going to do that, why is he doing it? I mean, it just seems
well,
to me
he's doing it. Well, I'll answer that question for you. There are two things that Harry and Meghan are doing by doing all this media. They're selling books and podcasts and interviews because the British public wanted them to earn their own living. So instead of living off taxpayers' money like the rest of the royal family, Harry and Meghan are earning their own living and making their own way in life. And secondly, and more importantly, perhaps that we don't touch on enough, is in future years, when history's retold, it will be retold with Harry's point of view included, instead of historians in the future believing only what the media told us. This time we're hearing it from the horse's mouth. So it's really important that Harry and Meghan's point of view is out in public, not once or twice, but repeatedly, because history has shown us that with the right PR, it's possible to rewrite the narrative.
Yeah, two things there. I mean, I think it's very disingenuous to say that the royal family are living off taxpayers' money, because they do work incredibly hard, especially the working royals like Princess Anne. And let's face it, Meghan did not want to turn up to a hospital in Wigan on a dreary Saturday afternoon to open it. She's not. She came into the royal family. She's.
Do you know that because Meghan told you that, or was it because someone at the royal family's press office briefed the media to let you believe that? Because I'm sure Meghan didn't tell you that.
I've not been briefed, and I never for 1 minute said that I'd had any conversation.
Where did you hear
with
that?
Meghan
Where did you hear that?
Hang on a minute. This is a point of view. This is why we're all here. I said I wouldn't think that Meghan would want to go to Wigan or anywhere on a rainy Saturday afternoon to open a hospital. She wasn't interested in actually working for the royal family. In her own words, she said she didn't even know what she had to do. She hadn't even Googled Harry. So she was coming into an institution completely blind, she says, and then that faux curtsy that she did in the Netflix thing, I think was actually very rude of her. And I think for her to have gone through the whole wedding, which was paid for by taxpayers' money, to be introduced and enveloped into the fold of the royal family, Prince Charles even walked her down the aisle. She is a form of breaking up families, let's not forget. She broke up her own family, and now she's breaking up the royal family. And I feel sorry for Harry. And I do think there is remorse there. And I hope, above all,
he's a victim of it.
I think he is a victim of it, because I think he is, because of the reasons that we discussed earlier, the fact of the horrendous
Jasmine doesn't agree.
and murder of and killing and death of his mother.
Yeah.
To have gone through all that, and we know that Harry is a particularly emotional person in any event. I mean, that's just the facts.
Go on, Jasmine.
No, all I will say is everything that you've just regurgitated is stuff I've read in the Daily Mail and the right-wing press. It is absolutely ridiculous. And it shows that you've been spoon-fed this narrative and you are now believing it. So, I mean, you've drunk the Kool-Aid. What can I say?
Come on, that's really, really quite rude, actually, for one that actually doesn't read
it
the
really
Daily
isn't.
Mail.
You're being really rude
so
about
levels.
a couple of people that you've never met in your life, and you are making all these assumptions about them by the briefings that have come from the palace. None of us know these people. Listen, I'm not a Harry and Meghan stan, and because I support what Harry and Meghan are doing doesn't mean that I don't support the royal family. I'm all harmonious living. This is a dysfunctional family, like most families, and there's always a way back.
Well,
every time we're on telly pitting them against each other, we are not helping.
I mean, there's clearly a big machine that operates in Buckingham Palace, maintaining the image of the royal.
Okay. So that was it, you guys. Sorry about that. Well, at least now I know that the old way I was sharing the clips do not work anymore. And so I have to do it another way. Now, that is probably something in the software that is to make sure that there's no feedback or echo from, the computer or whatever. So it's not a problem. I just know I need to do things differently next time. But okay, so the person that isn't it amazing? Is her name Tessa, the one in black, two-ton Tessa? Tessa, two-ton Tessa, Tessie? The one wearing black, she was the one who said that she wasn't interested in doing the work. It is incredible. It is incredible, but not, shocking that someone who obviously has gone to school and may have gotten herself a fine education could sit there and lie with such a straight face, who could give all of these talking points, as Jasmine said, from the Daily Mail without flinching, without blinking an eye. She regurgitated all of the talking points that comes from the tabloid media. And that it may cause hurt or inflict pain, that it is untrue, is of no consequence, so long as she is carrying the water for that outdated institution is reason enough so that she wins points or wins her OBE or whatever she's after, or whether she has a chance to dine at the king's table. Whatever it is in life that she's after, in that very concealing dark top she's wearing, that is the whole point of it. It just goes to show you the measure of evil that it is attached to that institution, that you would see someone plainly look into a camera or look at the host or wherever her eyes fall, whether it's a plate of rib tips or bangers and mash, or whether it's fish and chips, wherever her eyes land, that she will look in that direction and tell the lie with as much authority as a bishop on a Sunday morning would go through the whole communion and everything. It's breathtaking. It's breathtaking. And she doesn't see anything wrong with that. A person she never met and speaking in platitudes about things she knows absolutely nothing about. Meghan didn't want to do the work. Is it because she's supposed to be a lazy black woman? Or is it because Meghan is so Hollywood and so full of herself that she just, I mean, for us squatties, we know that Meghan was anxious to do the work. Meghan quit her job. She closed down her social media. Meghan needed something to do. Meghan was glad to do it. Oh, I get to work with the Commonwealth? You mean my husband and I, for the first time in my life, my husband and I will be able to work side by side, helping people. Oh, it's in the name of the Queen? No problem. But we can do this work. How about that? And Tessie or Tessa, whatever her name is, with that dark concealing top on, that makes up for any deficiencies, Tessa decides that no, she didn't want to do the work. When she found out that she would show up on a dreary day to open up a hospital ward or a hospital wing, that was something that she found beneath her. And and the sad thing is, there are people who will believe the woman with the wet hair look and the concealing dark top on. There are people who would believe her and take that for the gospel. And how did she close? She said, this is a matter of fact. She said that this was factual, that what she just spouted out of her well-fed mouth was factual. And no hesitation. She just told the lie. She spoke as though she actually has even met the Duchess of Sussex, let alone knows anything about her character. She did. It's as much as me saying that I know she put on that dark top, and I know she thinks that nobody knows that she's, a few stones heavier than the average woman. I know that nobody knows that, because I know that's why she's wearing black. It's not that, oh, that's what was clean today. That was just a choice she made. No. But the same way that she knows Meghan inside and out, I know that she knows that I know that she knows that you know that I know that she knows that nobody's noticed. Whew, these people work my nerves. You know that, don't you? Jocelyn Young, hello, Baron and Squatties. All what Scammy is there for is a piece of cheese. She's a rat. Yes, I'll just say yes. Thank you so much for the super chat, and thank you for being here on this Friday night. It begs for belief. I just, these people. Light Side of the Moon was going to call you out, Baron, because I was going to say, really, Baron, is that top really doing her service? Well, you have to admit it's very slimming. I mean, there may be some things under that or behind that we're not supposed to take notice of. I mean, yes, everybody's shaped like a pyramid if they're wearing black, but anyway, I know I'm just being silly, but she made me mad. It's incredible. Again, it's breathtaking way she just sat there and said all of these talking points, and this is what she does for a living. I mean, does she have any other work? Oh, sorry about that. That is your homework, by the way, you guys. And you know what? I'm ready to move on because I've been on for 2 hours and I certainly didn't mean to go on that long. She touched. Okay, let me do this. Okay, I just saw that. Veronica says she's racist. She's calling Meghan a lazy black woman. Exactly, exactly. That's what I got from it. Is that she's trying to say that Meghan is a lazy black woman who did not want to do the work. I mean, having come from a family of African Americans, that you know, guys, and let me just put it to you like this: you guys know how you say, Baron, why don't you take a day off? Baron has done work like you would not believe, and the model for how I have worked my whole life has been my parents. It was drummed into me as a child that, you know, we don't miss work. If you can crawl, you can work. And that's just how I've always been. I've always lived my life like that. And the example came from my parents. That's just the way it is. And so, given the fact that Meghan, you know, had what she had, her social media that she cultivated, her blog, and then, or blog, and then of course she had her television show and the volunteering that she's done, and that she wrote articles or op-ed pieces. She worked on the clothing line for that one department store. She's had all these things going on at the same time, or you know, at or about the same time. And the idea that this person on the Jeremy Vine show decides to say, oh, well, when she saw that it was a dreary Saturday and she might have to go and open up a hospital and she just couldn't see herself. Really? That makes me very, very angry that someone would insinuate something like that, especially about someone who works as hard as Meghan. Her mother, hardworking. Her grandparents on her mother's side, hardworking. I mean, she comes from a family of people that work. And the idea that you would try to portray her as somebody who's too above it all to actually go and open up a hospital, and you know, and of course she was using that as an example. And anytime they want to demonstrate that the royal family works hard, isn't it amazing how that always lands on Princess Anne's doorstep? You notice she didn't use the name William or Catherine or even Charles, and certainly not Camilla. She had to go to Princess Anne. Nobody else but Princess Anne. She is the standard bearer for people who work hard in the royal family. And if working hard is what she's doing, especially 5 engagements on one day, which can be as much as making a phone call or going to eat lunch with someone, if that's work, I'll take that. I'll take that. Oh, man. Yeah, that really rubbed me. And when she was talking, I felt something welling up in the back of my throat. I could tell the way I was breathing changed. I'm not going to lie to you guys. The first time I heard her, I found myself, I had that fight or flight feeling come over me. So, yeah, that was how I felt. I felt caged. I felt trapped, and I also felt angry. So that was the original reaction. And so in order to combat that feeling, I decided to be shady and throw a little sarcasm out there. You know, making light of that dark concealing making light of the fact that she's hiding behind that slimming top that she has on. Suddenly I felt better. So there you go. Thank you, Black Queen. Where did I see that? You were saying, Baron, everyone needs a mental health day. This stuff is very heavy. It's good to decompress. I feel like this helps, though. I really do. I feel like having this sense of community has brought me out of where I was during the pandemic. That's what I feel. And it's difficult for me to look at it as being stressful or pressure, considering the other work that I have done in my life. I mean, it's just, I mean, I don't talk about my other work, but trust me, it's this is like a walk in the park. And I've had a couple jobs where basically I talk for a living, and so that's why it comes so easy for me. Um, I'm very conversational in most situations, and it's a way that I deal with things is to be conversational. So I suppose that if I ever felt like it was more than I could bear, I would definitely do something different. But for now, you know, it is kind of it has become a lifestyle, I suppose. But yeah, and it gives me a chance to be creative. I think if I didn't have a chance to be creative, which is something that I've always done, then it would feel like I needed time. But for now, I'm just going to say I'm okay. But if I ever feel like that, then I can just go back to doing my recorded videos. But for now, I think I'm okay. But thank you so much. I appreciate the concern. But I do think I'm okay. Let me see here. What? Really? 2:30 a.m.? Well, thank you so much, Lane Parker. Thank you for being here. And as always, thank you for watching Royal Sussex. Let me see here. What was that, Joseph Berno? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Myra is talking to Joseph Berno. Okay. Okay, let me see here. Let me see. Forget about that segment here. Yeah, I think having a chance to talk about it as opposed to me watching it by myself earlier seems to have made a difference. But when I first saw it, I was just like, I felt like I felt trapped. I did. I felt trapped. I felt trapped. I felt attacked. I did. It triggered me. Oh yeah, you're right. Okay, so let's go on to something more pleasant, shall we? Now, I gave you guys some homework. It was in the community tab. I do hope you watched this. I do hope you guys watch this. She touched base with her ancestors, Vanessa Williams. And so anyway, and guys, one reason why I like to talk about some other stuff is because it does get what it does, but it will give us a chance to decompress from some of the more emotional things. And so this was something that made me feel so good when I watched it, because I love Vanessa Williams anyway. But she went to Africa. She went to Ghana, and it was it reminded me of my own roots. And so right there you can see my DNA. Right there you can see Cameroon, Congo, Western Bantu people, Nigeria, Ivory Coast and Ghana, Benin and Togo, Wales, England, Northern European, Ireland, Norway, and Senegal. So there you go. That is the cocktail that makes up me. And I had this done some time ago. A friend of mine asked me if I had ever done my DNA before, and I did. But of course, with the advancements, and of course, the more people that they um, the more samples they get, the more accurate your makeup can be determined. Or the more, you know what I mean? So that's me right there. So somewhere inside of me is all of those people or all of those places or people from those places. And if you haven't had that done, well, just remember, um, if you do something wrong, they'll find you. But then again, if anybody in your family has had their DNA done, they'll find you. And if that ain't the case, well, then they'll just wait and find something that you touched and they'll find you. So I can't tell you that it's without risk, but it was fun and I'm glad I did it. So, and I found out that I have cousins all over the place that I didn't even know exist. Baron, when will these buffoons stop the harassment of Harry and Meghan? Are those royal tentacles so long and will continue to abuse who and when they wish? Um, I am going, I am, I am of the opinion that it's not likely to ever end, but I guess the impression that people take from it, that will change over time if we can just win more people over to the side of reason as opposed to so many people as Jasmine said, drinking the Kool-Aid. Then I think that makes a big difference. So I don't think you could ever eliminate that, but I think that you can and should try to make sure that you inform and that you set the record straight whenever possible. And hopefully, and of course, a lot of those people who are royalists are the herd is becoming thinner by the day. And I'll show you an example of that later on. So, but yes, thank you, Anfu. I hope that was helpful. Okay. Mystic Toxin says, I just did a DNA screening. It was fun to learn where my ancestry came from. There's lots of missing family in my tree thanks to various reasons. Okay. Well, I'm glad it was fun for you. I mean, there's some people who have learned more than they wanted to ever learn. And then, of course, there are some people that have been completely reassured by having it done. But, there's a few things in the family tree that I have speculated about. And I wondered and such. And unless everybody else goes and does the same, I guess we'll never know. And that's okay, too. But it wouldn't change the way I feel about anybody at the end of the day. But yeah, interesting. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, so that was your homework. And there just so happens at the same time, there was Chance the Rapper and Dave Chappelle. And I believe this was over Christmas. And of course, our Miss America, Vanessa Williams, all of them just so happened to be there. So if you go to the community tab, you can find this video. It's about 20 minutes long, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. Seeing Ghana through Vanessa Williams' eyes, and of course, the lovely ladies that she traveled with. Now, Vanessa Williams said that she was taken back by the very soft-spoken, romantic nature of the men in Ghana. She said she used the term archetype. She said the usual archetype is blustering and whatever language she used to say that. She thought the men were going to be something different. But when she got there, she found them very helpful, informative, soft-spoken, protective. And she seemed to be having a real I don't know. I can't say it was like a Stella getting her groove back moment, but when she spoke about it, well, look at her right there. You can see she's blushing a bit. So as a matter of fact, look at all of the ladies. They seem to be beaming. So they had such a good time. I'm just like, all right, I have to go to Ghana. And I thought I might go to Senegal first whenever I do go to Africa, but I may have to start with Ghana. But usually, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I usually, when I go any place abroad, I try to do at least 2 or 3 countries and get the most out of it. Mr. Tuck says it's coming up a year since I subbed. Oh, really? I wish I could throw money at him, but one income household, at least I'm able to tune in and contribute. You know what, Mystic Toxin, your comments and trust me, when people tell me that I have become, company when they're doing dishes or at work or something like that, I'll take whatever I can get. I'm glad that people are enjoying this. And more importantly, thank you all for trusting me to do this work. That is the most essential thing. Nothing else matters. If people didn't trust me to do this work, I couldn't do it. That is the most important thing. So thank you so much for being here. Contribution noted and appreciated. All right. Let me see. Did anybody do your homework? Did anybody watch this? Okay. Yeah, 80s forever. They can use it any way they choose, and you don't have any control over it. I tell you what, if there's something you can do with this 50-something-year-old DNA, if you're shopping for organs to take or something like that, trust me, after all the abuse I have put this through, you don't want anything, you don't want to shop here for nothing. But yeah, so it can be used as a weapon, but the other thing that is used against us is the algorithm, our shopping habits, and everything else. And with almost 8-9 billion people in the world, I just don't worry about it. But yeah, it could always backfire. It can, and in some cases will backfire, but I don't worry about it. I'm on my 5th jab, and when it's time for number 6, I'm gonna go and take that one. Let me see. Bev Smith says, "I love you, Baron. Your clapbacks are priceless. They are therapeutic. I think I love to clap back. It's therapeutic. The sarcasm wells up, and suddenly I feel better. Suddenly I feel better. And I hope it's helpful to other people. My father's ancestors is from Ghana, and I seem to know a lot of people from there. That will be my first destination in Africa. Well, I'm going to tell you, some of the smartest people I know have been people I have met from Ghana and Nigeria. I mean, you name it. I mean, just incredible, like, students that I have known that are incredibly sharp. So I don't know what they have in the education system there that is lacking here, but at most institutions of higher learning, you'll find that people in particular from Ghana and Nigeria are quite sharp. Let's see. Big Mama says, Baron, you laugh at yourself. You sing, you do a mean Louis Armstrong. What's not to love? Exactly, Big Mama. I have so much fun just being. I am always happy to be. And if it helps anybody else, I am so glad. As a matter of fact, I feel blessed for that. Misty Blue says, evil likes to hide and camouflage. It has to be called out. Look at the way the unroyals talk through the tabloid and people like that woman, but they are being revealed. We can't let up. Amen. Because there is much Oh, got a new member. Got a new member. Bev Smith, thank you so much for being a new member of Royal Sussex. And happy Friday to you. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so if you didn't watch it, go ahead and watch it. Vanessa Williams speaks about her visit to Ghana and how much she loved and enjoyed it. But the overall impression that she had was the fact that as a Black woman, being in a place where she saw all these Black people and she didn't have to feel othered. And I have to say, that is something I've never experienced in my life when I've traveled. I've all and she is that universal. I looked around to figure out, are there any other people like me here? I know that feeling. I've lived that, and most Black people have experienced that. You're always aware, and I've never, unless I'm with family or something like that, I don't know that I've ever experienced that ability, that freedom to breathe and be, and being in places like an all Black institution or something like that. We're still in the United States, or you're still in Western Europe, or wherever you are, but it's just a spiritual awakening when you're in Africa, that you are home, that you are welcome, that you can breathe free. I've heard that time and time again. And so if it takes me until the rest of my life, I intend to experience that and appreciate it for everything. So that is something I look forward to. Let me see here. Baron, I subscribe for your app depiction of hog head and Chuckles bed and all the shade. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let me see here. West Indian students in U.S. top tier. What's faculty? Is that the top tier? Is that top tier? Faculties are extremely top notch as well. Okay. Thank you so much for that. Proud Nigerian. Oh, very good. Thank you, Amika. And thank you so much for being here. All right. And guys, Harry's descriptions of Africa. If you guys have been on Twitter, then you know that there is a video that is making the rounds of William speaking of Africa and Harry speaking of Africa. William is about as phony as a $3 bill. And Harry, he speaks with love, admiration, respect, friendship. He speaks of Africa as though he's speaking of family. William speaks of Africa as though he's speaking about his coworkers. Very big difference. Williams didn't seem to be very heartfelt. And I'm not saying this because of my, typical bias against all things Cambridge, but it just seemed to be more genuine. It just seems more heartfelt. And William, whenever they have an interview together, William seemed to try to gauge whatever Harry may say so that he can say it first and outdo him, only for Harry to chime in and speak from his heart and make William look like a complete buffoon. So, 3 cheers for Harry. Anyway, so you guys, if you haven't seen it, it's in the community tab. Please watch it. It was, if I tell you, if nothing else, it's going to make you think, I know where I want to go when I have an opportunity to travel abroad again. You're going to say to yourselves, I know where I want to go next. And that, of course, was Vanessa Williams, won Miss America back in 1984, 83, something like that. And of course, Vanessa Williams today. But yeah, that was very cool. I loved it. It was a pleasant surprise. It kept popping up on my YouTube, and I finally decided to watch it, and I really, really enjoy it. Laura says, Baron, when in Africa, everyone will try to feed you the way to welcome you. When it's time to leave, you'll be depressed. Well, Lori, I've heard so many times that people say that when they leave Africa, they cannot wait to get back. Yep, they can't wait to go back. It's like someplace you always go back to. That's what I've always heard. So I'm definitely not surprised. And I've watched quite a few travel videos, and I've watched a few where people have traveled to Africa. And no matter what, I've even seen someone who had gotten malaria, I think it was, and the amount of support and everything. And I'm going to tell you, this guy, he's from Eastern Europe, I think Romania or wherever he's from. And his girlfriend traveled with him. She kept saying, "Oh, I want to go. I want to go." And when he was ill, I mean, feverish and just out for days, the people in that community were so helpful to her getting the medication and such. And I'm just going to say it. This is a white girl by herself in a country where she didn't know anybody, and she received nothing but love and support. Nothing but love and support. And that was her experience in Africa. And there were times and places where even as a couple, they didn't always, they had actually happened in the middle of, I think it was like some kind of like it was a community where they were having like some kind of, I don't want to say a war, but it was like some anarchism going on. And basically people were just trying to keep them out the way. Don't go here, don't go there. It was just it it was a beautiful experience as far as they were concerned, something that at times, they because they really traveled away from, tourism. They went to places where you wouldn't expect to see them. And all people wanted to do was to help them get to where they needed to go and to help them be safe. And so that is probably not as far as I'm going to travel. I'm probably going to be, in some pretty well traveled places. But either way, all I heard was kindness, generosity, and thoughtfulness. That was the all that they ever experienced. Even editing the videos away from Africa, they had nothing but good things to say. So that is the take I've gotten from it. Okay, you guys, let me see here. Nacho. Let me see here. Baron, on the continent of Africa. Let's go. I'm with you. Yeah, I gotta put something together. And instead of just talking about it, I need to really figure out, flights and accommodations and stuff like that. Because once you take it from the abstract and you start committing your thoughts to it, that's how you really put things together and make them work. So I definitely intend to do that. And I don't know, maybe by 2024, maybe because, well, let me see. Vanessa went at Christmas time, and she said that everybody told her Christmas time was the right time to go. So I don't know that I'll do it this year, but maybe next year for Christmas I'll do it. But we'll see. But I tell you, I grew up on the ice. I laugh at a blizzard. Okay, so I don't want to be any place where it's too hot. That is my only admonition, is that I don't want to be any place that is too hot. Um, that's it. And wherever I sleep, I need to have some air conditioning at night. I need to have some air conditioning at night. And that's it. I'm open to anything else. I can be as hot as it is during the day, but I want some AC at night. And that is the only rule I have. AC at night. Let's see. Yep. Yep. And the thing is, a lot of the colonizers say that because they don't want other people to be attracted to go there. In particular, they don't want black people to go. They really don't want black people to go. But I had thought about going to Senegal some time ago, and I think I had met someone from Senegal, and she was just so nice. I'm just like, well, I want to go there. But yeah, I mean, I've seen some things, and I've actually saved some photos. And that's one of the things I do when I plan a trip is that because you know me, architecture is like a number one for me. And so certain architecture, certain things is on my checklist, and I want to be in those spaces. And but then, and I'm open to everything else, but architecture and taking my photos and stuff, that is one of the big things about my travel. Like the photos that I shared with you guys from my travel, you rarely see me in the photos. It's all kind of details and architecture and check out this sunset. And that's how I travel, is camera in hand. Okay, let's move on. So, Kate Middleton brings a special accessory to early years meeting, which she debuted at Harvard. She brought a special accessory. And what might that accessory be? A binder. As a matter of fact, that binder is what she used the other day when she went to that very purpose-driven meeting, not at Buckingham Palace. A notebook, a simple basic notebook, a 762-word article about a simple basic notebook. It just dawned on me that after the Boston trip, the palace can truthfully state that Kate went to Harvard. I chose to believe that this was the sole purpose of the whole visit. Now, I said at the time, I'm like, oh, Lord, Kate went to Harvard. We ain't going to ever hear the end of it. And apparently, that Harvard binder went so well that she had to haul out the binder again for the Last Supper meeting that they just had at Buckingham Palace. So I didn't actually see the article. I just saw, this headline, and I saved that because, I thought it would be shady to share it with you. But yeah, apparently she went to this meeting at the Harvard University, and she had that binder with her. And so that prop is something that we're going to see a lot of in the near future. A very smartly dressed Kate Middleton, or I'm sorry, Princess Kate, Princess of Wales. Like, okay, if in case you missed it, binder, check. Hyena grin, check. Touch a black person, check. Last Supper pose, check. And that is the future of the newly minted Princess of Wales, is that her breadth of knowledge and understanding are unremarkable, but the important thing is she has her binder. She may not be able to articulate any talking points or anything like that, but she has her binder. And of course, this is Kate at Harvard University, hands flailing, teeth grinding, and of course, the lack of symmetry with her eyebrows. All of that is to convey a certain sense of confidence or competence, if you will, that the subject matter at hand is in full control and command of the newly minted Princess of Wales. Oh, I tell you, this lady has a handle on everything. And the meat hooks, those claw-like hands sticking out, and and creating an optical illusion to confuse the other people in the room. Pay no attention to that. She knows what she's talking about, and she has a good handle of everything that's going on. I'm just kidding. She don't have a clue. And then, of course, this is the British taxpayers' money at work, 350 billion pounds a year to support the royal family. You heard me. I know they try to tell you that it's half of that, but it's 350 million pounds total to support the first, not the first, but the royal family and all of their extended family, and protecting their various properties and all of the people who have to move when they move. And for that, you get a very worn out, withered Kate trying to understand what the lady is showing her. And then you have William arranging cans in a shopping bag. Doing his impersonation of Prince Harry with his crew neck sweater. And between the two of them, that is the future of the British royal family. And then right here, don't you love it? Alan Cummings has handed back his OBE. The Scottish actor won the award in 2009 for his activism in LGBT rights, but said recent conversations around the history of the British Empire has opened my eyes. So this was a big story before I went on today. Apparently around noon, they began to talk about this, and then it just flooded all of the social media and news outlets or whatever that carried the story. Alan Cummings returns his honor over toxicity of empire. Yes, so he, of course, being a Scot, decided that he just didn't want it anymore. Happy birthday to me. Alan Cummings hands back his OBE. That's right. Happy birthday to me. Alan Cummings hands back his OBE. Happy birthday, Alan Cummings. Happy birthday. He handed back his OBE. And many more. So yeah, that's it. No more OBE, and he's not the only one. From the left, you can see Alan Cummings and McDermott and Peter Capaldi all reportedly rejected an OBE. So maybe this is something that is going to trend, and for people in Scotland who are hopefully going to rid themselves of the union, maybe that's a good idea, is that people are handing back these OBEs to demonstrate a very passive aggressive protest against the idea of monarchy. And so this is what I mentioned earlier. Should Prince Harry be invited to the King's coronation? Well, I don't care about that. What I want to show you is 18 to 34-year-olds seem to be very sympathetic to the Sussexes. 74% of the 18 to 34-year-olds said that Harry and Meghan should go. Now, take that for what it's worth. It's not saying that they love the monarchy and they want Harry and Meghan to be a part of it, but it's 74% of people are saying treat the Sussexes fairly, treat them right, show them respect. That is what I get from that. 35 to 54-year-olds, 65%. 55-year-olds, 47%. And among all, it comes down 60% of the people are saying, that's more than half, 60% of the people are saying to include Harry and Meghan. So again, don't look at this through the eyes of, well, I just don't want them to be there. That's not the point of this exercise. It is showing that in spite of all that has been dished out by the very nasty tabloid media, that still 60%, an overwhelming majority, is saying to treat them right. Okay. Now, it doesn't mean that they love the monarchy. There are some royalists there, but 74% of the young people, 18 to 34, adults eligible to vote, eligible to buy liquor and cigarettes and such, those people say that the Sussexes should be included in the British royal family. Now, trust me, there's a lot of them in those numbers of all ages that don't even think there should be a royal family. But there's something to those numbers. And lastly, the royal family made two mistakes about Prince Harry that too many employers make about employees. Well, what might those be? Well, according to this article, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, seem to be everywhere these days. Given their amount of mistreatment by the British royal family, first there was the couple's interview with Oprah Winfrey, then six-part Netflix documentary, now Spare. For some reason, they keep overlooking the interviews that Meghan gave and the Spotify, but okay. I can understand why. Harry's memoir of life as King Charles' younger son, the title is a nod to the dictum that those in line for the throne should make sure they have two children, an heir and a spare. The royal family, who make it a point not to discuss internal family conflict or even their own feelings in public, can't be happy with this very high profile airing of Prince Harry and Meghan's grievances. And from what Harry and Meghan say, it didn't have to be this way. It's worth noting that it's worth noting that we only have Harry and Meghan's versions of events. I'm guessing the other members of the royal family have very different versions of their story that they could tell the world if they chose. But if Harry and Meghan's description is at all close to the truth, then the royal family made two very big mistakes that too many business leaders have made as well. They prioritize an organization over human beings. Number two, they assumed that Harry and Meghan had no other choice. And number three, wait, is there a number three? No, there is no number three. So yeah, it's those two. Well, yeah, those two big mistakes. So yeah, those are the mistakes that they made. So number one, prioritizing an organization over human beings. The British monarchy seemed to have believed for more than a century that its most important duty is preserving the British monarchy, one of the five oldest currently in place. This is understandable when you consider that throughout the 20th century, one European monarchy after another has toppled by its subject, or has been toppled by their subjects. In fact, Charles's father, Prince Philip, was a member of the ousted Greek royal family. Many questionable decisions, including the decision not to rescue their cousins, the Romanovs, from death in Bolshevik Russia, were made in the name of preserving the British monarchy. There's a certain logic to this outlook, and yet, if an organization or institution has, as the British monarchy is often called, makes self-preservation number one priority, how much loyalty can they rightfully expect from people who work or live within the organization, especially when they know that loyalty isn't reciprocal and they could be sacrificed anytime to preserve the organization? How much loyalty can they rightfully expect from the British people? See there? If they are willing to do that to Harry and Meghan, what would they do to the common person? And number two, marrying into the royal family and being born into it means living a very particular life full of public appearances and privilege. but also full of constraints. It also means living a very protected life in a palace or compound far removed from the rest of the world. Very few people have been born into this life or married into this life have ever voluntarily left. That may have given the royal family the mistaken belief that whatever the sovereign or government decree will be unquestionably obeyed by members of the family, even if that obedience break their hearts. Consider what happened to Queen Elizabeth II, refused permission for her sister, Princess Margaret, to marry the man she loved because she was divorced, rather than defy her and perhaps marry abroad. The couple broke off their engagement and went their separate ways. Of course, not quite everything falls in line so willingly. For example, King Edward VIII refused to follow instruction. He abdicated the throne in 1936 after the government refused to allow him his marriage to Wallis Simpson, a divorced American woman. If what Harry and Meghan say is true, the royal family seems to have expected both of them would stay within the family forever, doing whatever they were told, however unhappy they might be. And who knows, perhaps they would have if Meghan had been the gold digging social climber some tabloid press portrayed her to be. But way before she ever met Harry, Meghan had a successful career as a television actor, entrepreneur, and influencer with more than 3 million social media followers. So within racist vitriol dogging her on social media, her letter to her father intercepted and published by tabloids, and the royal family apparently complicit in the raking over she was given by the tabloids. The couple decided they had enough. They knew they could live a good life in the United States, and so they left. Even in this age, the great resignation and the quiet quitting, too many business leaders seem to view employees the same way. They assume employees are dependent on them for a paycheck, and so will have to accept whatever decision employers make. That leaves them free to do what the royal family does, put their organization's survival and profits, often disguised as serving shareholders or investors, above the need of their employees, customers, or community. But employees do have another option, and increasingly, they're choosing them. There's a growing audience of Inc.com readers who receive daily texts from me within, so now they're trying to sell something. Want to learn more, blah, 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 blah. They left to change careers and often start businesses of their own. Like Harry and Meghan, they may have been reluctant to go, but most found they were much happier once they did. So that's nice that they have created that comparison, and it makes a lot of sense. Harry said this is the age of the Great Reset, and that a lot of people are not taking it anymore. And he got in trouble with the certain people in certain places because of that, but he was only telling the truth. Harry said what a lot of people were thinking. Harry is a truth teller, and Harry told the truth. A lot of people are mad as hell and they're just not going to take it anymore, and they'll quit. And people have and will continue to do that. There's too many positions open in the job market, and there are too many other ways that one can make money or start a business or whatever. So you don't just have to sit back and take it. And they didn't take it; they left. So there you have it. And with that, you guys, thank you, Mod Squad, for being so helpful, making this a safe space. And remember, the Sussexes are straight out of Nottingham Cottage. And of course, they are straight into their luxurious, opulent, picturesque, palatial home in Montecito, California, where there are no leaks in Montecito. All right, you guys, it's been almost 3 hours. Can you believe that? I have talked almost nonstop, haven't I? Except for that one video. Let me see. Liberta August says it's time for Harry and Meghan to give up those, to give those folks. To give up on those folks and focus on the people who mean them well. They have all but told them that they don't love him, so he owes them nothing. There you go. All right. And he's grown. Grown people move away and they don't come back. That's just the way life goes. If it's good enough for a lot of working class people, then it's good enough for Harry. You can walk away from your family and never go back, and it's okay. Either way, I'm going to support him. So, all right, you guys, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching Royal Sussex. And also, I did look at the emails for the books. I'll talk about that tomorrow's, as I am just about all talked out for today. But I passed on the proper information to Sherry Ware, and I also passed on the proper information to Lydia. I'm not even sure what I passed on, but we'll work it out. We'll work it out, I'm sure. And if it's possible to get you guys the books that was promised or offered, then we'll make sure that that happens if it's at all possible. So thank you very much. And also thank you for your contributions. Greatly appreciated. I don't think I have a list today, but I don't think I missed anybody either. So I think we're okay with that, right? Right. All right, you guys. Love you so much. I will see you all tomorrow. And yeah, Lydia, if it doesn't come out in the wash, it always comes out in the rinse. Oh my God, I'm so glad I said that right. Do you know for years I have been saying wrench, not rinse, but wrench. And finally, after over 50 years of saying it wrong, someone asked me, what is wrench? I said, wrench. That's when you wrench something out. Is rinse. But I think the reason why that happened is because I had internalized the whisk around the collar. Remember that? Whisk around the collar. So instead of saying wrench it out, I would whisk it out, and somehow it became wrench. Wrench. So yeah, I spent a lifetime of saying that. Boy, I tell you, how many people walked away from me and thought, what a dum-dum. Oh, well. So anyway, if it doesn't come out in the wash, it always comes out in the wrench. In the wrench. In the wrench. It comes out in the wrench. All right. Thank you very much, you guys. And our last word of the day is wrench. Wrench. If it doesn't come out in the wash, it always comes out in the wrench. And also, again, thank you, moderators. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions, big and small. If only to meet us here in the comments or chat or whatever, all is appreciated. And just knowing that you guys have liked, shared, and subscribed is very fulfilling, and it makes me feel really good about it. Is what motivates me to do this. I tell you, you guys have changed a lot for me, and it's been a change for the good. Let me see. Good job, Baron. Nice looking out, mods. The conversation was brilliant. Everyone have a good night and or a wonderful day. Joy always come in the morning snuggles. Okay, thank you so much for that. I hope somebody snuggles me in the morning. I hope so. Yeah. Okay. Why do I make everything sound so seedy and so provocative? I don't know. I don't think I ever get enough. Let me see. Okay. Are we good? Let me see. All right, so I'm going to go then. Thank you very much. And I am going to cue the ginger. No, you know what? Let's do Meghan tonight. We'll end with the Madam Duchess video. And I mean, since people don't see enough of Meghan, right? Thank you, our Queen of Hearts and our Queen of Everything. And we are going to cue. We're going to cue our Madam Duchess. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, sorry, Susie Q. That was the wrong video. Woo, boy. I'm glad I caught myself. Sorry, Susie Q. That was the wrong video. Definitely not what I was looking for. There we go. What? You know what? I usually never say this, but what a great evening. I mean, a great, live today. I really enjoyed it. It was so spirited. I love it. That was great. I feel energized for some reason. I don't know exactly why, but I feel more energized today than I have for actually since Spare came out. Yeah. Spare was like that big high, and then it started tapering off, as the days have gone by. And I guess I was up so high from Spare that everything seemed like it wasn't none of the moments seem as big since Spare, but I'm feeling like a renewed momentum has taken place. So yeah, I am feeling very good about today. Sharian, of course, was fantastic today, and Petal, and I haven't had a chance to watch my Duke and I, but I'm going to catch her probably after this as I eat a very late dinner. As you know, my schedule is all thrown off, so I ate breakfast when most people were eating lunch. And for lunch, I think I had some cheese and crackers. So I guess I need to eat something. But yeah, thank you very much, everyone. And I will see you all tomorrow. And we're going to do it all over again. All right. All right. Love you guys. See you.